So today's tech talk will be about the import bundle again, as there weren't any other topics mentioned. So today I'd like to present something about local development of imports or exports and how to deploy them to the development servers or production servers. And the other thing I want to talk about is the optimize inheritance feature. What this is, I will tell you in some minutes. Yes. So I will share my screen. So this is again the customer project or customer development project, and in this project I created a data port named Optimize Inheritance. And this is a rather simple import. It's based on an XML file, and this XML file is this one. We have a root element and then all the items, or products in this case. Products have an ERP code, name, price, description, and manufacturer, and they have a parent tag, and this parent tag references the ERP code of the parent. So 123 master references the ERP code of this item. So in the end, we want to achieve a product hierarchy. 123 master. Let me just write it here. Then 1, 2, 3, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So our target class is UC product. This class already existed, so I haven't prepared anything new for this talk. It's a rather complex class, but we only need some fields of that. The important thing is that this class allows inheritance. This checkbox below here is checked or is enabled. The other things I just mentioned that the items are in the product tag, which this is this one, and the XPath for this can be written by that, or we could even use absolute XPath, so we could use catalog product, but it doesn't matter in this case. And the single fields are below here in the raw data field table. That's quite simple. And let me just start raw data import. I uploaded the XML file before, so I don't have to select that file again. And the data which got imported is this. That's exactly the same, which is in our XML file. Now to import this data to the UC product class, or to import UC product objects, we have this attribute mapping. The key is based on the name of the product. The parent or the path is based on the parent field, which I explained. That's this one, and we have to set a little callback function. If the parent value is not set, then this folder gets used. And if the parent value is set, then we look for a UC product object with the ERP code and the parent value. So this syntax I already explained in a lot of tech talks. So if there is a parent value, then we look for an UC product object which has this product which has this parent value as ERP code. This is what this means. And if there's no parent value, then we import or create the new object in this folder. We publish the created objects. Then we have the ERP code. This is also key. This is our key field. Do we have anything more? Yes. We have a manufacturer. There's this little callback function. All pretty basic stuff. And in the preview, we see that this works. I don't know why there's nothing here, but I checked it later. We have the name. My screen is a little bit too small. We have the name, the English name. Simply set to the name and the English description to the raw data field description. So, that's something from previous tests. Doesn't matter now. Okay. When we import this data, I will import this step by step, so raw data item by item, so that we can see what happens. We just import the first one, that's the master. Debug output doesn't matter now. When we import this, excuse me, then as we set the path to be this folder, if there isn't any parent value, so for this item there isn't, you can see that here, it automatically creates the folder if it doesn't exist. So this test folder didn't exist previously, but now it does, because the parent of this object is set to be the folder, and if it doesn't exist yet, then it will be created by the import bundle. So when we open this object, there's nothing unexpected. We have the article, the ERP code number here. The manufacturer is referenced. We have the name below here and the description. And that's it. Now, if we import the second raw data item, then we get a hierarchy. In the path, we now get to the case where there is a parent value set, and we now look for the UC product where the ERP code is the parent value, and this is the case for this object. So ERP code is 123 master here, and the parent value for the red product is 123 master. So it finds this object and creates a new object below the master product. Now, if we open that product, again, nothing unexpected. The article number is here, manufacturer, name, description. Let me just do the other ones. Until here, it's a normal import, nothing new. So we can just fast forward this a bit. When we have imported all those products, we have this structure, and every article has this data. Now, now there comes the problem. Currently, all these slave products have the same description. You can see it. This has the description. This is my test product. This has the description. This is my test product, and also this. Now, when we want to edit the description, or the customer in this case, he has to edit all those objects to achieve an edit in the, or to edit the description for all those objects. Of course, you can use the grid for that and use the mass editing when you add the name. No, description. When you add the description column, you could use this feature to update all those. But in some cases, it is more elegant to just have the description on the master product and inherit this data to its slave products or child products. So when we remove that, there's another field which prevents saving. Check. Now, if we remove this description or short description, then the value stays the same, but in this case, it is inherited from the parent object, from the master, my master product. And if we change the value here, then it gets inherited. And it gets inherited to the slave product. That doesn't work now because this is unpublished, but I don't know which field is mandatory in this case. So our target is clear. And that's the how to say that the idea behind this optimized checkbox optimize inheritance feature. So when we open the advanced settings, there is this little optimize inheritance feature, and this makes it possible that the data is set to the uppermost object in the tree. Of course, only if the class allows inheritance. And yes, let me just show the difference when we delete that again and enable this checkbox. Then we can see the difference with this optimize inheritance feature. So we leave everything the same. Raw data also seems the same, stays the same. And now we import the master product. And the first difference is that there isn't a folder created, but there is this, there is another object of the same class created. And this is because, I will show you the master product. And the master product now has the manufacturer, but it isn't set directly on the master product, but it is inherited from its parent object. And this is because there isn't any other object in the tree. So we can just set the data to the parent object, which is this one. And there the manufacturer is set and the name and the description. And all these fields are inherited to the child object. Important to say is that the ERP code is not inherited. This is because this is the key field in attribute mapping. Because when we would set the ERP code to this object above, then if we re-import this raw data item, then we would find this object instead of this one, and and for this reason, the key fields are always not allowed to set to parent objects. They will always be set to the objects just created or identified by the SQL query. Okay, that's nothing special. But now when we import the red product, now it gets interesting. Again, the red product goes below the master product. And also this product inherits the manufacturer. It is still inherited from the test, from the uppermost object. But some other data is not inherited. For example, the product name. The product name is directly set to this child object or slave product because it differs from the data which is on the parent object. So the parent object has another name than we want to set for the newly imported object, and that's why the name gets set on the newly imported product directly. This is not the case for the short description because this doesn't differ from the master product. When we look at the short description or description in this case, the master product has the same description as the red product. So it gets inherited as before from the master product. It gets inherited from the uppermost object. In this case is named test. Okay, then let's import the green product. The green product brings nothing new. I only want to show that the manufacturer and description is still inherited, and other things don't change. Now the blue product has a different manufacturer. Obviously, this wouldn't be the case in a traditional master-slave hierarchy, but in this test, it's the case. You can imagine that this isn't always a master-slave hierarchy, but that can also be other hierarchies. For example, when you want to structure your object tree by some fields, for example, the first level is the manufacturer, then below that there is a category, and so on and so on. Then this would make sense that there is a child object with another value in certain fields. And if we import this one, then we see that the manufacturer is being assigned directly, and for the other siblings, it's now also set directly. This is because normally they could still inherit the AMK manufacturer, but this is a bit misleading, or that would be misleading, because this checkbox, the tooltip, says that the data gets set on the parent element if all of the parent siblings of the parents' children, that should be of the parents' children, if all of the parents' children have the same value in the respective field. And this wouldn't be the case then, because all the siblings here don't have the same value, so we don't want to have this manufacturer in the parent element. Because if you imagine when you search for objects, it seems to be here still, but in fact it's not. When I refresh the object, it's not there still anymore. And this is the case because when you search for objects with the manufacturer AMK, you now don't want to find this master product. but only those products which really have this manufacturer as manufacturer being set. Yes, that's the reason for this inheritance. So the inheritance gets disabled or gets broken up in this case. But still, inheritance is working for this field description. This is still inherited by the test object. Yes, and that's how it works. When we import the data to an object, we get all children by the parent and compare the value of the field, the target field, and if that differs from the value that we want to set to the target object, which is currently being imported, then we break up the inheritance. So that's how it works in the background. And now if the customer wants to change the description, he can just go here, and this will still not work, but this will not work because there is a mandatory field somewhere, but he could enter it here. Oh, it does work, okay. And it gets inherited to the child products. So he doesn't have to use the mass editing in the grid. He can just use, as we would normally design a database, he can maintain the data once and inherit those data to the child objects or descendant objects. It's not only the child, it's for the whole subtree. That's how this optimized inheritance feature works. So one item is missing. If we import this other master product, then we get this structure, the new master product. Let's switch back to the raw data. The new master product has another description. So now the same applies as previously for the manufacturer object. We now have the description for this new object here. But of course, now it would be misleading if all those products below here would inherit the description from the test object. This was previously this, but now it gets broken. The inheritance gets broken up. The description gets removed from this test and gets set to this other master product. So this feature cares about that the data is always in the uppermost position, which is possible, but not. But it will not have, or the data isn't kept at the wrong levels. It's a bit hard to explain, but I hope you got it. Yes. So again, this is because we want to create an object and have another description as description. Then all siblings of the parent element, namely test, will get fetched. And if they have a different value in this field, and in fact they had before, then the inheritance is broken up. The value gets nullified, so it gets truncated on the parent element and gets set to the children which previously inherited this data from the parent. Yes. That's the optimized inheritance feature. Are there any questions?
Yes.
Yes, please.
How can I re-enable the inheritance maybe from the my other master product? Can you click this again? and this description. Now I want to have an inheritance from the test. How do I do this?
What do you want to have here?
The inheritance text from the test object.
Ah, okay. You just have to remove text.
And save. Okay.
There's still this mandatory field.
And then reloading it. Okay.
Reload it.
Okay.
Yes, but now there isn't anything in test. So when we have something in test, then it gets inherited again.
Okay.
There it is. That's how for all fields it works this way in Pimcore. When you remove the content or anything which is considered empty for this data type, then you enable the inheritance. Or in other words, so that's one side of the medal. In other words, it isn't possible to override a field value with an empty string. When you want to have the description empty, this is not possible when you have something in the parent element, and inheritance is enabled for this class. It is a little quirky, but
you can't hit space one time to get this.
Yes, you can enter.
Yeah,
right?
this one.
Right. I only want to say because a customer stumbled upon that in the last days, and yes, that's how inheritance works in Pimcore.
As a side note, this also means that inheritance doesn't really work with checkboxes because you can't uncheck a checkbox if it's enabled in the parent.
I think it does meanwhile, because they have added a
different data type.
No,
as far as I know.
Yeah, they have added this Boolean select. This one, you mean, right?
Right, yes.
But when let's just use that one and add a checkbox here. I think you can set it to null in the meantime. So we need the news object. Where is it? Dates and images. It should be somewhere here. I think there should be. Then
I think inheritance is disabled for this class.
Ah, right. Good point. Inheritance. Now there's this little icon.
Oh, I see. Okay. Nice.
So it works when you have this checkbox checked here and uncheck it, then it also gets unchecked here. Right. That's something new. Okay. But it doesn't matter for now. Okay, this was this. And are there any other questions concerning optimize inheritance? No. Okay, then I'll continue to the other topic, and that's that's something for deployment. Until now, it always was the problem that the settings which you had for this dataport were only saved to the database. And when you created an import or a dataport on the development machine or on the local development on your local computer, then you always had to recreate this object or this dataport from scratch on the target system. And this is rather prone to errors, because if you just miss a single checkbox here, you can, for example, when you miss anywhere the not override checkbox, and this can have horrible consequences. And for this reason, I added a feature that on every change in the data port, a so-called definition file gets written. And this one is written in the directory var bundles Blackbit Pim. And it's named dataport, then the ID, and then JSON. And in this file, everything which is or which you have set for this data port is written down here. And when we move so it's important, this file should be in the version control, so in Git, because actually a data port is code. It's nothing that is only a setting or it's data. In fact, an import is code, and that's why these files should be in Git. That's also to have backups, or to be able to control the changes of a data port. Because until now, if someone changed anything here, you had no chance to see anywhere who did this change and what was it before. And this changes now with these definition files. And when you have this one, and let me just copy that away. Normally it would be in Git, but for demonstration, I just copy it away and then change something in the data port. Then we now have this also in the definition file. And now we have a new command. There it is. This is the new command, import deployment dataport rebuild. And this command works the same as, or similar as, the command for classes, which is this one, Pimcore deployment classes rebuild. This does the same. It takes the definition files, which Pimcore creates, and creates database structure and the PHP classes on the target system. And our new command actually does the same: recreate, update all dataports based on the files in, and then the folder, which I have just looked at. You can, if you want, you can you can specify which dataports shall be recreated. But during deployment, it would make sense to call it without any parameters. But for now, we want to only restore dataport 28. This will now change nothing, because the definition file is currently with the change. So when we look again, the description is test. I only want to show that this does nothing. It says dataport successfully updated. And when we refresh this dataport, then the description is still there. Everything else is also still there. But now when we take our file, which we have moved away previously, when we now execute it again, then we see the description is empty now. And this also does work for all raw data field settings, and attribute mapping, callback functions, and everything. Yes, so it's really important that this folder does not get added to gitignore. I don't know if for how much project this is the case, but at least for this customer, I've seen that the whole var folder was excluded with only some exceptions. And it's important that this, at least I think, var bundles gets added to Git. Or in other words, if you don't add it to Git, then this feature doesn't work, right? Because then you don't have any files any files to restore from Git. The other thing which this causes is, of course, that a change in the dataports will break deployments, because then there is a change in the some more changes, but where is it? Man, what is that? All this var, where is it? Should be somewhere in there. Don't see it. Is it still excluded? I haven't committed that yet. This is the gitignore file, which is used, at least in this project. I think it might be also used this way in other projects. So when you want to use this feature to be able to set up the data ports on another system than the target system, and of course this should be done because you wouldn't set up a data port on the live system, because that's rather risky. Then you have to add something like var bundles or something like that. I cannot do that in the migrations, so for each project this has to be done yourself. I only can edit our gitignore template, which we normally use for new projects. Yes. Any questions for this command feature? No. Okay. So this means that you can create data ports on your local machine and then commit them to Git, and the deployment, if it is set up this way, will automatically create the data port on the target system. What do you think, Dave and Dennis? Should we add this to our normal deployment process, or should we add this command to the post-deployment script for each project? Dennis?
Not sure. I mean, we decided to add the class rebuild to our regular deployment workflow, right?
Right.
So I would say then add this command as well.
Okay. Okay, then we'll do that. Yes. Okay. So Dave and me will do that. Okay, then that's all I have to say for today. Yes.
Jan, in
Yeah.
which version is this feature enabled? The latest version, I think.
The latest version, not in the stable version. And I always create pull requests, and yesterday I also did. And I tried to add everybody who is doing imports. So you should have received an email this is in this. So the changes are described. There are also some other changes, but also this optimized inheritance feature is included in this branch feature export import dataports. And if you have new projects or you want to try these features, you can use this branch in your composer JSON. And otherwise, you have to wait until I consider it stable enough to merge that to master. Yes. The other things which are in this branch I've already shown in the last tech talk. I think the raw data is editable. Templates I've shown, the export features, that's everything about that. And some UI bug fixes and some minor changes. Yeah, so if you want to test this branch, this would really be cool. So I always use the latest branch for projects I'm working with to be able to test that with real data. Of course, not in the production system, but in the development system, to see what if these features really work, and if you are safe to update in a later stage, because sometimes this will become dev master and also get a tag, so a version, and then you should be confident enough to update to the new import bundle version. So it would be great if someone tests that for the projects where import are being used. Yes. Okay. I think that's for now. If there are any questions, you can write them in the Tech Talk chat. Or are there any more questions?
No.
Okay, then thanks for listening. And then have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot for presenting.
It was a pleasure. Okay, so.